Hello, I'm Elder Bringhurst, and today we're going to read uh, the Odyssey. The Odyssey is a classic literature about adventure. Um, so first we're going to review some vocabulary. Alright, vocabulary word number 1, hardship. Hardship. Crew. Crew. Off course. Off course. Desperately. Desperately. Cyclops. Cyclops. Intruder. Intruder. Furious. Furious. Boulder. Boulder. Barrel. Barrel. Spear. Spear. Blind. Blind. Creature. Creature. Escape. Escape. Curse. Curse. Encounter. Encounter. Sorceress. Sorceress. Press on. Press on. Wax. Wax. Mast. Mast. Terror. Terror. Whirlpool. Whirlpool. Sink. Sink. Advice. Advice. Preserve. Preserve. Wandering. Wandering. Outnumber. Outnumber. Disguise. Disguise. Vagabond. Vagabond. Arrogant. Arrogant. Abuse. Abuse. Reveal. Reveal. Bloody. Bloody. Carve. Carve. Embrace. Embrace. Alright, now that we've reviewed some vocabulary, let's just jump right into the story. After the Greeks won the Trojan War, the Greek hero Odysseus prepared to return home to Ithaca. Odysseus looked forward to seeing his wife and son again. Little did he know, however, that his trip would take many years and be full of hardships as well as adventures. Odysseus and his crew had trouble from the start. A strong wind blew their ship off course. They sailed from island to island, desperately trying to find their way back to Ithaca. After several adventures in strange places, they stopped at the island of Cyclops. Cyclops were one-eyed giants. The men entered a large cave and began to eat the food they found inside. When Polyphemus, the Cyclops who lived in the cave, discovered the intruders, he was furious and ate several of Odysseus' men. He then put a large boulder in front of the cave's entrance. Odysseus and his men were trapped. Fortunately, Odysseus had a plan. Odysseus gave Polyphemus a barrel of strong wine, which made him sleepy. Before falling asleep, he asked Odysseus his name, and Odysseus told him it was No Man. Once the giant Cyclops fell asleep, Odysseus used a large stick as a spear to blind the one-eyed creature. Polyphemus cried out to the other Cyclopses for help. When they asked who had blinded him, Polyphemus could only answer, No Man. In the morning, Polyphemus pushed the boulder aside to let out his sheep, but he stood in front of the entrance hoping to catch the men. To escape, Odysseus and his crew tied themselves to the bottom of the sheep, which then carried them past the blinded Cyclops and back to their boats. Unfortunately for Odysseus and his crew, Polyphemus was the son of Poseidon, the powerful god of the sea. Poseidon cursed Odysseus and promised that he would spend years at sea and lose all of his crew before returning home. On another island, they encountered the sorceress Circe. She decided to help Odysseus, and she told him how to prepare for the dangers ahead. Odysseus pressed on. Once his ship came upon the Sirens, who attracted men with their beautiful songs and then killed them. Warned by Circe, Odysseus protected his crew by putting wax in their ears. He himself, however, wanted to hear the songs, so he had his men tie himself to the ship mast. Odysseus became one of the few people to hear the Sirens' song and live to tell the tale. Then they had to pass between the twin terrors of Scylla and Charybdis. Scylla was a six-headed monster that ate men from passing ships. Charybdis was able to create a whirlpool that could sink a ship. Again, following Circe's advice, Odysseus sailed near Scylla, losing 6 men but preserving his ship. Finally, after 10 years of war and 10 years of wandering, Odysseus reached Ithaca. All of his crew had died and he was alone. However, his problems were not over yet. A number of men had moved into his house, each wanting to marry Odysseus' wife Penelope, and thus became king of Ithaca. If he walked into his home unprepared, he would be outnumbered by the suitors and they would kill him. First, he disguised himself as a beggar so he could visit his home. Thinking he was just an old vagabond, the arrogant suitors abused him. Odysseus got to see his son, all grown up but helpless against his guests. He was also invited to speak with Penelope, who interviewed all strangers, hoping for news about her missing husband. Thus seeing his wife moved him beyond words. Odysseus knew he had to wait. He revealed himself to his son and a couple of loyal servants, and told them to hide the suitors' weapons. Then the 4 of them attacked the suitors and killed them all. After the bloody work was done, there was one last test. Odysseus' wife asked him where their bed had been moved. Odysseus replied that it could not have been moved, since he himself had carved it out of a tree. Overjoyed, she embraced Odysseus, knowing that her husband had finally returned home. What a wonderful story. The Odyssey is an adventure story, and it's one of the first ones ever written. Has a lot of fun things in it. Let's go over the reading comprehension section now. So the first question is, how did Odysseus and his men get out of the Cyclops cave? They got the monsters drunk, then blinded it. They tied themselves under some sheep. They pushed the stone out of the way. Odysseus said that he was no man. The answer is, they tied themselves under some sheep. While it is true that they got the monster drunk and blinded it, as well as Odysseus told him that he was no man, ultimately the way they got out of the cave was by tying themselves under the sheep, which carried them out of the cave. How did Odysseus know about the dangers of Scylla and Charybdis? He read about them in a book. He had sailed through these waters before. He had heard about them from Circe. He had heard stories from old sailors. The correct answer is C. He had heard about them from Circe. Circe is the sorcerer who predicted and told Odysseus what sort of dangers lie ahead. The book mentions know nothing about having sailed there before, reading it in a book, or asking other sailors. Why did Odysseus disguise himself when he first went home? A. So he could see how things were at home. B. He thought he had changed so much no one would recognize him. C. He didn't want his wife and son to recognize him. Or D. Circe had told him to do it. In this case, the answer is A. So he could see how things were at home. He had already been gone for 20 years, and there were many people that wanted to become king, so he thought it was dangerous to go home. He loved his wife and his son, and he revealed his identity to both of them. First his son, and then afterwards his wife, after he had killed the people that were trying to take the kingdom from him. He also, while Circe the sorcerer warned him about many things, the book does not mention that she told him that there would be people trying to take his kingdom. Question number 4. If Odysseus' son was 1 year old when Odysseus left, how old would he be when Odysseus returns? 11 years old? 16 years old? 21 years old? 30 years old? The answer is C, 21 years old. The book mentions that he spent 10 years at war and 10 years at sea wandering back, which is 20. And if his son started at 1 year old, then he would be 21 years old. Thanks for reading the Odyssey with us. We'll catch you next time.